Prepare yourselves for a new twist in the never-ending battle between the irresistible force and the immovable object. This is Freddy vs. Jason. But first, a little bit of backstory. Starting with Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. Now this movie starts off with a young man who no one knows because he himself does not know who he is. And it starts off with him already in the dream world, and Freddy is lurking outside of his window, and they apparently spoof Alice in Wonderland. No, wait, not Alice in Wonderland. Wizard of Oz, yeah. They apparently spoof Wizard of Oz by Freddy dressing up as a witch, flying on a broom, and saying this. "I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too." Yeah, pretty much. So, the movie starts just like that. And then he is transported in the middle of the desert, and this movie is centered around him and 3 other kids: Tracy, Carlos, and Spencer. Tracy is a tomboy who we assume was raped by her father, although the story doesn't really elaborate on that. Anyways, Carlos is a deaf kid who was apparently abused by his mother, but they only briefly elaborate on that during a dream. Then there's Spencer, who has daddy issues. His dad wants him to be just like him, but he doesn't want to. And so, along with the help of their doctor friend, they uncover a truth that has been kept from them for over 2 decades. Freddy has a daughter. And that daughter is Maggie, their doctor. And so, while uncovering this truth, most of them die. Spencer, Carlos is the first one to go. And his death is by way of him, first he loses his hearing, then his, I think, head explodes. And so, Spencer is the next to go, and he is killed by a video game. And then there's John, who they name because he doesn't know who he is. And how is he killed? He is killed by road spikes. And then, at the very end, they drag Freddy back into the real world, where he is killed by a pipe bomb. And so now we move on to Jason Goes to Hell. Jason shows up at the very beginning, but is later shot to death and blown up. And while in the morgue, he possesses a coroner. And the way he does this is making the coroner eat Jason's heart. And then he possesses a whole mess of other people. And apparently, most people in this are are suddenly badasses because they have guns. And at the end, Jason appears for the first time since the beginning because this parasite thing crawls into some woman's skirt who apparently is a relative of his. I apologize for the amount of apparentlys, but this movie isn't that good anyways. Anyways. And so Jason is killed by his own niece. And at the very end, a claw pops out. And Freddy drags Jason down to hell. And now, it is time for Freddy vs. Jason. The movie starts off with a little bit of backstory, talking about how everyone has forgotten about Freddy. And he needs them to remember. And so he sends Jason after them. First, it's just a contest to see who can rack up the most bodies, and overall Jason wins. Round 1, Jason meets Freddy on his own turf in the dream world. First he cuts off Freddy's arms, then Freddy grows them back. Then Jason goes to do it again. Freddy catches his machete, then throws it. And then throws Jason and tries to kill Jason with his own machete. Pinballs him around the room. And then tries to drop a heavy object on Jason, but fails and pleads to him, "Why won't you die?" And then he finally discovers Jason's weakness. Jason is afraid of water, and so he digs deeper into Jason's past. And that's where our protagonist, Lori, comes in. She goes into the dream world to try to get Jason out. Freddy and Jason. And so they all go to the cabin where Crystal Lake is. And then Lori discovers that Freddy killed her mother. And so she wants revenge. And then round 2 begins. Jason starts off with the first attack, but it's countered. Then Jason starts to get the upper hand, starts throwing Freddy all over the place, throws him through a building. Freddy shoots oxygen tanks at Jason. Then they start battling on the docks. And suddenly a huge explosion. And then Jason and Freddy, as they both are about, and then Freddy pops up out of the water and tries to attack Lori with Jason's machete. But Jason thrusts Freddy Krueger's arm, the one with the claws, into his chest. And so, as Freddy drops the machete, and drops to his knees. Laurie cuts his head off. And the movie ends with Jason victorious and walking to shore with Freddy's head. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the other two movies. I'm just going to talk about the second one, the last one. Freddy vs. Jason had really good acting, really good action in it. 2 fights, not one. Uh, Very spectacular movie. Couldn't have thought of a better way to do it myself. Uh, I mean, how could you not like this movie? It had all kinds of great moments in it. None of which I thought would be good enough to talk about because I'm on a time schedule here. I really wanted to wrap this up as quick as possible. There's actually an alternate ending where Freddy comes back in the form of Will, Laurie's boyfriend, and then kills her. They said they wanted to end it like that, but decided just to turn it into a deleted scene. I couldn't find the deleted scene on the DVD that I rented, but I guess it's a collector's edition type thing. But anyways, that's it for me. I am Mike Wayne, aka Rebel 80. Please rate and comment, and so long for now.